Welcome to the Before Brunch podcast. I'm Caitlin Davey.
I'm Casey Fitzgerald.
And we are your definitive inside track to anything and everything that's happening around Dubai.
And we're basically going to be with you every Friday morning chatting everything interesting that's going on in Dubai. So welcome to episode 5. This week, unfortunately, we're missing Caitlin, who's away. She's sunning herself in Bali, but I'm joined by Rich. Welcome, Rich.
Hey Casey, good to be here, stepping in Caitlin's shoes, who's done so good, and I'd actually prefer to be listening to you both on Friday morning, but I'll have to step in while she's having a great old time.
Well, thank you for joining us. Introduce yourself, tell everyone what you do.
So I'm Managing Director of Augustus, which publishes Lovin Dubai and Lovin Saudi, and I don't have any journalism background, so I much prefer relying on the qualified, trained people, Casey and Kate, and but I'm going to step in and what do you guys normally talk about?
So we kind of run a system. We have a news topical story of the week, which is really cool. There was a huge data breach in the UAE specifically, which was trending globally, and now it's hit home. So I think people will have a different opinion on it now. Then later on, we're talking about a big listen, which is a really juicy story about Ramadan. It's 3 weeks away, and there's a lot to go on this week.
Okay, awesome. Looking forward to it. Let's go.
Okay. Have you heard about the Kareem data breach?
I did. I read about it. I think some excitement broke in the office saying this is a big data breach, and we did our due diligence. We love Kareem.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone in the UAE in terms of tech and business are big fans of Kareem. They're a unicorn in terms of being valued at $1 billion, and they're a homegrown success story. So it was interesting. But then, I kind of read about what you wrote about it. So what actually happened?
So, like you said, it broke on Tuesday at 1 or 2 p.m. And basically what happened was Kareem put out a blog post and a tweet. And I think a couple of news sources got noted. And it basically said that 14 million Kareem data users, so that's 14 million users across the UAE, Pakistan, Turkey, their names, phone numbers, emails were stolen. What's important to note is that their credit card information was not taken. It's saved on a different server, thankfully. So I think that worried a lot of people. But the conversation evolved how Kareem handled it, and then looking at other data breach scandals and how we can go forward from how Kareem will move forward to make sure that the users trust their data with Kareem.
Okay, so there's been a data breach, and we'll discuss how they managed it and everything like that. And that was a couple of days ago. Is this reputation crisis management at the moment? Are they kind of damaging the reputation mess? Are they in a mess? Is this going to harm their brand? Or are we talking about something that's seriously going to be a blot in the Kareem success story? Or are we talking more about how they handle it and what a breach was?
I mean, when something like this happens, it's not good, okay? Like when something goes wrong in your business, it's not a good sign. But like you said yourself, Kareem is a homegrown company, and people kind of like people who have moved to the UAE or spent a lot of time in the UAE. It's like the Ngamis and the Kareems. People
move towards it, gravitate towards it. But they're not listed on the stock market, so we don't know if their price dropped. We don't know if the interest has dropped. We don't know if users have stopped using them in 3 days because of this. And we don't know, there's no Kareem fail hashtag going. So, have you spotted anything else that this could be damaging?
No, because I think Kareem dealt with it so well. They wrote a really, really transparent blog post, and that's all they said. They wouldn't comment any further. And the blog post basically admitted the wrongs. It said that the data breach happened in January, and from January, a cybercrime investigation, it takes time. So first of all, they got notified. They noticed that...
So January 14th, 2018, 14 million people's information have been taken from Kareem servers. Yeah,
and they were notified by... they noticed that a hacker had got into their system. So there was someone in their system, basically.
Wow.
I look at it as like a little man playing around.
Jumping around.
So the cybercrime investigation takes time. So I understand why they didn't release the information at the time, because that was the one kind of thread online that I saw. People are saying, why are we only hearing about this now? Realistically, it's a month later. So what they have to do when that happens is they need to find out what happened. They need to find out who was affected. They need to find out what information is stolen, because it's key here that your passwords and your credit cards were not stolen. They're on a different server. And if my password information was taken, I would be worried.
Yeah.
Anyway, but my main point is how Kareem dealt with it is something to take from, and why there isn't a hashtag Kareem fail is because Kareem...
They took ownership of the situation. They took ownership, they controlled the messaging, and they did it really well, I think. I think a lot of the headlines on Lovin Dubai and other sites were a little bit, and TechCrunch globally, were, you know, sensationalist in the way that, you know, this has been a huge data breach. But when you looked, if that normally happened, if a story like that broke, you'd go to the company and you'd ask for the response, and they'd delay 24 hours to come up with something, and there'd be a panic. And in this case, they'd already released it themselves. So there wasn't any like, hang on a second, there are these headlines, but when you go into it, all the information is there. So in terms of using their corporate communications channels, they did it quite well.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you look at the different hack scandals over the last couple of years, and you just kind of have to compare it, and that's why Kareem have come off so well, because you look at the Uber and you look at Facebook Cambridge Analytica, and then you see how they dealt with it, brushed it under the carpet. And
so basically in 2016 Uber had 57 million customers' data privacy breached, and they were told about it. They paid $100,000 as ransom to hide it, and it came out a year later. So that's a shambles.
But Uber in general is a media shambles. Like,
yeah,
no one is proud to work there.
Yeah, exactly. They've Travis Kalanick is no longer there, and they've got a new kind of direction now and a new board. But yeah, they had kind of disaster after disaster. They've had loads of PR disasters in terms of other issues in terms of workplace and everything. But and Kareem haven't had any. As I was trying to say, that Kareem's kind of copybook hasn't been blotted, but it just goes to show, like you mentioned another case we'll talk about, no pun intended, Casey. But oh no.
A pun on the podcast. Come on.
Yeah,
keep that for the website, please.
I will. Well, it's because I call you Case, that's why. But yeah, so I was just thinking that, you know, we're living in an age where blockchain and this kind of encrypted sort of ledgers are becoming so popular, and it seems to me that if everything was on the blockchain, that nothing would breach, whereas now everything's built on the www. The World Wide Web, which is hacked all the time. And
can you just, sorry to interrupt, can you explain the difference at some point between blockchain and World Wide Web for us laymen? Well,
you know, I think I don't really see what's happened yet with kind of crypto and blockchain and stuff like that, but basically cryptocurrencies are built on a technology called blockchain, which is a technology that's on the internet. But the internet, www is one solution for the internet. The World Wide Web is one thing that's built on the internet. Blockchain is another thing that's built on the internet. So I remember when I was getting classes about the internet, they would show me these pictures of modems and stuff and draw arrows and show, this is explaining the internet. No one actually knows. I still don't know how the internet works, because it's just all those modems and transfer of data over, and then there's Wi-Fi and then there's whatever. Same with blockchain, but blockchain isn't the World Wide Web. It's more secure, because basically it's basically a ledger with lots of different autonomous, secure networks that communicate to each other and anonymously verify each other. So when there's data there, it's why you know, there was this story of the guy who, well, the person who invented Bitcoin isn't known, but there was a guy who got done for the Silk Road. What was it called?
It's not like the legal.
Yeah, he's in jail for 5 years but he did all his drug trafficking information stuff via Bitcoin because it was so secure. And then you've got this other guy who saw blockchain, and he built Ethereum, I can't pronounce it. A 23-year-old American-Russian guy, absolute genius, and it's worth $125 billion. And he basically built a form of contracts on the blockchain. So it's so secure, and that's why people believe in it, but they just don't understand how it works, and not everyone builds on it, and people raise. His technology was used to raise ICOs, so initial coin offerings, like we mentioned earlier. Kareem weren't listed on the stock exchange, which would be initial public offering, an IPO. But initial coin offering is to raise money to build something on the blockchain. Lots of people raise money. Not everyone's built something, and the stuff that they've built haven't really taken off yet. So that's where we are. But going back to the data thing, it wouldn't be breached. In my basic knowledge, these breach issues wouldn't happen if everyone's data was secured on a blockchain ledger.
Okay.
So going back to the Cambridge Analytica example, they had initially it was something like 50 million, then 65 million, but what happened then was they used that data. It wasn't just names and addresses; it was actually behaviors online through the Facebook, and they were able to communicate messaging in a certain way. So what we've seen with Kareem is that with these 14 million users is that they haven't been used in a way. So they haven't been used to manipulate an election. They haven't been used as Facebook ad buying. They haven't been used as credit card things. So as long as they eventually don't be used in a malicious, malign way, then there's no issue. Whereas with Facebook Analytica, Cambridge Analytica, Facebook knew at the time that they had a data breach. Yeah. And they asked Cambridge Analytica, have you deleted all this stuff? And Cambridge Analytica said, yes, we have. And Facebook were like, okay, we believe you.
You can see those emails happening, can't you? Like just one girl in the office being like, they said it's fine. just closing her laptop and going home, and then like a year later being like, oh damn.
That was that evening that I just needed to go to gym class or whatever.
But you can just see how these things happen, and it's scary. It's really scary.
Yeah, exactly. But both Facebook did say we apologized.
And they apologized.
Yeah, and now Kareem is saying the same. So I just hope that this is the end of those 14 million.
But that's the overhanging question. Who is the hacker? Why do they? Is it because I hear hacking can be a sport and people are doing it to prove that it can be done. But why did someone feel the need to hack into Kareem and take the information? And if they're just taking X, Y, and Z, what could that information be used? How could that information be used that may harm society?
Yeah, I think interesting. What's that group called? Anonymous or something? When they hack something, they announce it straight away and they claim responsibility because it's like a badge of honor.
Yeah.
We broke down your system, but that didn't happen on the 14th of January with Kareem. So someone didn't go. So unless Kareem found the person, put them to trial, wherever, took the data back, or were verified it wasn't there, then I don't think they would have come out with this, because they're going to look pretty silly if they've started what now snowballs into something bigger. So say next week we're talking about someone claims responsibility and that they still have the data, then it's really going to be reputation damage for Kareem.
Yeah, well, what they just did say is that they cannot see any evidence of anyone's data being used for fraud or misuse. But it's just the number, 14 million, is just mind-boggling. People.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? What's Kareem's usage numbers like?
They have 14 million users, and the data of all users was breached.
Ah, wow. Amazing. Interesting. Well, anyway, well done, Kareem, for how it's handled. It is just evident that this could happen to anyone, I think.
This is it. I mean, how many apps do you give your information to? How many apps do you never read the terms and conditions of? How many apps do you say yes to allowing your friends' information to be taken? People are not cautious with their information online. We buy things.
And like all our mobile numbers, we're contacted by people who didn't get our mobile numbers from our friends, right? Like we're contacted because our numbers
constantly in the UAE.
Yeah, and our numbers are on lists that are bought, just like you can buy an email database. So I think it's just when you talk about companies this size, that's the scary part. If you're talking about like 20,000 people signed up for a competition and it wasn't the most secure kind of terms and conditions, and then they enter the competition but they're contacted again, then you're okay, fair enough. Not that there's anything right about that, but that's what tends to happen a lot of the time, or a mobile number. You're at an event or whatever, you log on for free Wi-Fi. Everyone has a dud email address they use for these things.
Do you?
I have many email addresses, but I have one that I wouldn't be worried that it's just spam, right? So then, but you know, like if you look at Emirates as well, like Emirates have how many passengers? Hundreds of millions, I would imagine. Everyone, they have an email address for. Either if you book direct, I know you don't have to log in to book a thing, but if you use Wi-Fi on a plane, an Emirates plane, they have your email address. Angami have 65 million users. Like, if someone wanted to do anything, if someone wanted to cross-sync that data of Kareem's users with Facebook to run a media propaganda campaign in the Middle East, that's a serious security threat. If Cambridge Analytica, like scientist people, wanted to do that for any agenda, whatever agenda it is, and equally, I think, sorry, going on a bit, but I was just brought back to how Airbnb grew as a company originally. It was because there was this massive website in the US, a bit like Dubizzle, called Craigslist, and they weren't that smart about protecting things. So everyone put their ads for their apartment on Craigslist, and then Airbnb went and took it, put the ad on Airbnb, and people contacted the owner from Airbnb because they used the ads as they used the listings as ads. So they're like, Casey, get this 3-bed apartment for rent in Dubai on Airbnb. You go on and you contact Joe, who's put the ad up, and Joe's like, I never advertised on Airbnb, I did on Craigslist, but I don't care because I've got a customer. And slowly but surely they cannibalized all Craigslist users, so they basically got their listings by taking them, attracted customers, filled the gap. And same thing, you know, if someone knew, if Uber got 14 million Kareem customers, and because Kareem are ahead of Uber in many markets here, you know, and Kareem, it's a big fight between Kareem and Uber.
What are you saying, Richard?
I'm just thinking that, like, but that's one way, like, it doesn't need to be a big cyber attack or whatever, but that's one way of seeing your customers from a competitor is by taking email addresses.
Well, you definitely went to the bigger picture there. Like, but personally, and if you look at all these companies, say if you look at how startups grow, at what point do they say, okay, now we're going to invest in protecting our users' data? So you have, do you know what I mean? As in, if there's like credit card information, so Kareem was saving users' data partly in one server, partly in another. Like, were they paying more for the credit card server, or is that how it works? Do you pay for a more secure server so you know it's safer? So then they were paying less for this server, or how does it work?
I don't think so Kareem have raised a lot of money and they've hired a lot of good people. Like, I don't think it's I think it's a poor craftsmanship issue here. I think, you know, when we look at, I was recently at a hotel conference and Marriott said when they bought over Starwood and when they merged their loyalty programs, it was like it took this long because the technology was antiquated. It's not that they didn't want to invest in it. It's not that they didn't have the right people or the right strategy. It's sometimes technology gets old and outdated, and some of the internet-based technology, servers, security, terms and conditions, passwords aren't secure enough. And I would say it's down to the technology. I don't think it's like investing more or whatever, but I think what they can do over time and now is have more secure encryptions on some of their databases.
That is an investment.
It is an investment, and maybe they could have done that before. I don't even know if I don't know if you need to update your security as time goes on, if things become a little bit outdated. You know, we have these secure, like there's phone, on your phone we've pass thumb things and stuff like that. Like, even if we're passing through an airport, the security has advanced in the last 10 years. They now look at the thing, they read your stuff, they do the fingerprint. And 10 years ago, that probably wasn't necessary because there might have been a data breach. And in 10 years' time, maybe there'll be a chip inside us that just knows it. I don't know, but like
you're going so off the wall, but
yeah,
but it's true.
I think it is technology rather than poor investment. I do think that you have to, in an age of internet and with these numbers and the growing things, I think you constantly have to invest. And if Cream have invested in better security now, I don't think that's the last time they need to invest. I think they'll need to do it again in the future.
And as your numbers grow and as technology changes, 100%.
Yeah.
But for sure, after reading their full post, which you can read on, if you go onto Careem.com and then /blog, they have the full transparent outline of what happened, how they're going to move forward, and how you can be safe with your data online, which you can check out.
Cool. Okay. Brilliant. That was Juicy Story of the Week. Well done, Careem.
Giving us some content.
What do you got now?
Welcome back. We're talking, the big listener this week is about cultural sensitivities. Basically, a PR got released this week and it just made us question time coming into Ramadan. Basically, it was a PR about a bar in Tikam, we won't name names, and the PR was promoting drinking during Ramadan. So obviously they have their license and they're promoting two things: the dirty Ramadan brunch and the noontime quickie, and how it was phrased and how they're promoting alcohol and just being really, really, let's say, a little bit thoughtless. It got quite a negative reaction. It got pulled back immediately by the PR, but it just makes us think about cultural sensitivities during Ramadan, and have people relaxed a little bit too much?
Yeah, so, basically, I think this is my 7th Ramadan in the UAE.
You're getting old, Rich.
I'm getting old. Thanks, Casey. I'll admit that. But and I think every year it's interesting to see things change slightly. I think it's amazing. In the UAE, in this year of Zayed and tolerance, it's just great to see so much tolerance from Emiratis and from locals in the UAE on other cultures and other religions, and vice versa. I think in general, the 200 or so nationalities are very tolerant to local customs as well. So there's a lot of give and take. I think everyone deserves credit to that because it makes it the wonderful place it is to live.
Yeah.
However, recently, over the years, it's not that people have relaxed, but definitely in terms of business, licenses have opened up. So, in the past, there was football tournaments on during Ramadan, and the night before the tournament has started, there'd be a letter from the kind of restaurant authorities saying you can apply for a license to serve alcohol during the game, and then they go, finally, because I've invested all this money for a tent and no one's going to come. They're going to go to the pub that has a drinking license or whatever. So all the laws have changed and they're told at last minute. But what we're told this year, especially given the investment that restaurants make and bars and F&B outlets all year round, and knowing that after Ramadan there's going to be a few summer months that are going to be quieter in terms of people eating out and in terms of nighttime al fresco and in terms of travel and everything like that, it's a key time that they have to keep customers and they need customers to keep their business going. And many hotels don't have the same offerings during Ramadan. Even some of the key partners that Lovin Dubai has, such as Dubai Opera, they don't have shows during Ramadan. They have an iftar. But if you don't have an iftar, and the Sean Connery restaurant is serving for the iftar actually this year, which would be really interesting to go to, but the Sean Connery restaurant is closed then, and many other restaurants will close if they don't have a hotel iftar offering. So if you don't, then how can you entice people to come? But I think the line is obviously crossed here. Calling something dirty Ramadan brunch is completely inappropriate, and calling something the lunchtime quickie, even not in Ramadan.
Not even in Ramadan, it's just so off the scale.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think if we saw that anyway, we'd be like, how low do you go? Like, because it's not that there's governance and rules about how you But yeah, there's some things that are just vulgar.
Yeah.
And I think it's great that it's obvious that things are vulgar, because in other countries things are vulgar become funny, and it's great here that vulgar things and rude and inappropriate things aren't funny, and that people pull them up on it. So it was good that they realised.
Yeah, but this getting released, so like you said, the laws have loosened a little bit, where a couple of years ago there would be no licence, due to, probably because businesses need to stay afloat. They've relaxed the laws. So what you do is you apply for a permit. You have to stand by the strict guidelines, which is you black out your food and beverage outlet. No one is allowed to walk outside with food. No non-Muslim is allowed to smoke or drink or eat during daylight hours in front of other Muslims. So that allows businesses to continue during Ramadan, and that's so important because, like you said, it's make or break for a business. A month without, if they're not giving an iftar, a month without service, if you're a daytime restaurant, that could ruin you. But then you see this press release, people are just kind of taking the mick a little bit. I mean, just because laws have relaxed doesn't mean people can do what they want.
Yeah, I think we all live and learn, and I definitely know that we've made mistakes in the past. I think one year, there's certain things that might be appropriate outside of Ramadan that aren't in Ramadan, and you just have to be extra sensitive. Now, in Saudi, where Lovin Saudi is, or in other Islamic countries in the Gulf region, Ramadan hasn't relaxed. It has in the Levant region. You go down to Beirut during Ramadan and it's business as normal, nothing changes. Whereas in Dubai, especially, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, it was much more relaxed. Or it was much more strict in terms of music being played in the evening and in bars and clubs and stuff like that. But in terms of online content, like, we were always aware of, we don't post about food during the day in Ramadan because we don't want to tempt people, etc. And but I remember one year there was a viral video of camels misbehaving on the side of the road.
I remember this.
And we shared it on Instagram, I think, and we were contacted by the Dubai Media Office saying that during the month of it was actually DTCM, Dubai Tourism, during the month of Ramadan, that's not that appropriate. And we were put our hands up and said, you know what, actually didn't think of it, and you're completely right. But it's a time to kind of cleanse the soul and to kind of be at peace, and you don't want to see anything vulgar. And in any respect, whether it's language or anything, you don't want to see anything vulgar during the month. I think that's totally fair.
Yeah, and I think you touched on the topic there of being able to put something up online, making a mistake, because media happens so much faster than it used to. And then, like you said, we took that down. The PRs here, they recalled it. And it's throwing your hands up and admitting it. Does that make it okay?
It depends. I mean, if it's in breach of cybercrime law, then no. If things go up, they shouldn't go down, they shouldn't go up or whatever, if it's defamation or anything like that. But if it's cultural sensitivities where there isn't actually a law against it, a criminal law or cybercrime law, there are guidelines. And many of the things that we obey and we have principles on in terms of how we publish, everything is around guidelines and how to be consciously sensitive. On that occasion, we made a mistake. Would we do something like that this Ramadan? No. Will we be doing the Lovin Dubai dirty brunch? No. And would we do it given what we've learned? No. But I think I don't think this PR agency is going to call something the what do they call the lunch quickie?
The noontime quickie.
Noontime quickie. Brilliant. we're fresh off the boat or what?
I don't know. Like, I mean, it's just it's really funny. So there's a UAE journalist Facebook page, and they didn't name the PR agency, they didn't name the bar, but they just wrote out a couple of the lines, and the reaction was so funny. It got like 200 comments of people, all those like hand pan gifs and like spitting out your coffee, and people being like, heads will roll because it's just so off kilter. It's so yeah.
Imagine if we published it, we would have been lambasted.
So actually, there was a link. So of course, it's a journalist page. Everyone wants to know who did it, who sent it. So everyone starts searching online, and they Googled some of the words and it came up on a blog. So basically a blog, I don't think it's that popular, or I don't think it's widely known, had gotten the press release and basically copy pasted it onto their blog.
Yeah.
So then everyone could see exactly what
Who
it was.
Because we did cover it, but we took out all the names and everything like that. Because you don't want people learn from mistake. They did press recall. We've all sent emails on a recall.
Yeah,
you don't want someone to get fired over this, especially that it wasn't, it wasn't an advertisement. It was a private press release. I know press release is public information, such as how it's called, but publicity. But I don't think it necessarily is the same as doing a TV ad or doing a print ad in a way. In terms of, you shouldn't. It's not consumer facing officially. It's kind of internal comms in a way.
Yeah, no, but I think that for us, the reason we didn't name the PR and the reason we didn't name the bar is because it was a mistake. Someone wasn't thinking it got sent out, but for us it's more of a talking point about wherever you're from, to just be aware during Ramadan. And that's why we did the article on it, not the fact that someone had made a silly blunder. Because
I think especially I was at Arabian Travel Market this week, and I remember seeing the Saudi stand last year, Saudi Arabia, because although tourism has opened up, it hasn't fully opened up in terms of the visas, but I spoke to at least 20 different tour operators, and one of the things about the lessening of the licenses during Ramadan in the UAE is to make Dubai, in particular, a 365 destination. So if people come, I know food courts and malls don't serve food in public or whatever, but there are places where you can go and get a meal and have a drink and have a nice
food courts do now. They just kind of close it off. You can still get food in food courts and malls.
Okay. Okay.
Not all. Some.
Okay. So so it is somewhere that is catered towards tourists, 365, and it isn't in other countries like Saudi Arabia. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is you don't want to lose it, because if you lose it, then you're not. I saw a presentation by UAE Tourism as well about the different attractions, and you don't want to lose what you stand for in your culture, because then you just become like Vegas or whatever. And I recently saw this week that Dubai have said that they're definitely not letting gambling into the UAE, which I think is great. And they would make so much money for the economy if they did. But I think it's great that they don't, because it's one step too far. And where do you stop? And I think if people can respect those traditions, and if people cannot, go too far and take advantage out of some relaxed laws just for tourists to have a better time during Ramadan, respect and be tolerant that not everyone is fasting, some are, some aren't, but life should stay the same for those that are, and that those that aren't in many ways. Yeah,
I agree. I think the UAE has made a couple of decisions. So we obviously observe Ramadan and work finishes 2 hours early. You were saying that we're not going to allow gambling, and then obviously not being able to drink in public places and not giving licenses to most places outside of hotels. These are all decisions that Western countries would make it seem as more conservative, but actually it's just the style of life that they try and continue with the trend, and people who live here choose to because they like it, and all for it.
Okay, brilliant. Well, there'll be, I'm sure you guys, you and Kate, will be talking about Ramadan a lot over the next few episodes.
I miss Kate.
I miss her too. This has been fun though, Kate, so thanks for having me on. We'll welcome you back next week, Caitlin.
Thank you so much for joining us, Richard. That is the Friday Brunch podcast. Enjoy your brunch, and we'll talk to you next week. As always, you'll find us on Twitter, SoundCloud, YouTube. We have just opened up our Angami account, so if you're on Angami, definitely check us out there and tweet us, let us know what you think. Happy weekend.